Hi everyone and welcome to Thank Card It's Friday. Today I will be showing you how to make a swing card. Here in Australia our cardstock is actually, our A4 cardstock is slightly bigger, so some of the measurements you'll just have to alter it and make it how it would suit to your standard size cardstock. Now our standard size cardstock with an A4, what I do is I pretty much line it at 5 7/8. I butt landscape wise up against my trimmer, and to cut that in half, to fold that in half, I usually score it at 4 1/8. Okay, so now what I do for this swing card in particular, I would normally score, I think in America I've seen it a different version with swing cards, and it's like scored at 2 7/8 and 3 7/8. Here all I'm going to do is I'm going to score it at 3 inches and then at 4 inches. So it's just slightly that 1/8 bigger. Alright, now using your big shot and I'm going to bring that into view. It isn't a Stampin' Up! One because I had this prior to me being a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, so I've just got the pink version. Now when you do swing cards, and I'm going to be doing a framelit with the new ovals collection, you have to have all tabs down for the framelits, and so you need your 2 cutting mats. These cutting mats are very well used. Now when you use and do any swing cards, it's pretty much a process of elimination in where you line your cardstock up and where you line your cutting mat. Now that is the most important part of this. I think why I've chosen a oval is because it's a lot more flexible. You don't have to line it up. I just try and keep it as much the same width from the top and bottom as much as possible. Now I'm going to, this section here is the smallest part, and then here is the largest part. So you can see here the first score line. It's a bit bright in here because I am filming during the day and using natural light. So what you need to do is I use my post-it notes to line up towards the middle bit, and then I actually am just posting it anywhere where you think that it might move. And because my cutting mats are a little bit warped, I tend to make sure I've got full coverage with my post-it notes as much as I can. Now what you need to do is line up your cutting mat. I like to make sure all my cutting mats here on the first 2 layers are flush with all the layers of the tabs, and then I slide my cutting mat in and I line it up on the first score mark. Okay, then I feed that through my big shot and I wheel that through. So now you can see once I pull this gently, this post-it note, it's only cut until this first score. Now keeping that down, I'm going to flip the cardstock around. I am going to put another post-it note. I just want to keep things as firmly as possible. Okay, so now I'm going to put my cutting mat, feeding it through first here, and putting it again just flush with this score line on this side. So therefore you'll have a gap in the middle where it has not been cut. So I'm just sliding that through and then letting the machine cut it. Okay, so taking that first away, taking the big shot away so you can see it, and just pulling the post-it notes off. Alright, so pretty much now when you lift this up, the only part of the cardstock that has not been cut is that middle section, and pretty much you fold one way and then fold down, then fold up, and that's how you get your swing card. You can use that with any die that you wish, and pretty much just line it up as center as possible. If that's what you wish, you can put it down the bottom. The reason why I like to place it in the center is if I were to use the embossing folder, it does weaken the cardstock, and you just don't want it to be one side where it could possibly tear. So you could just use designer series paper to reinforce it. So this is the swing card. So let's get started with making the card. Now today's card's going to be based around a naming day ceremony for a baby, so it's not necessarily a christening card, but it is focused on a naming day for a little baby. Okay, so I've cut two pretty in pink pretty in pink cardstock. I nearly said the wrong colour cardstock, and I went one size smaller down than what the oval that we used for this, and it is for a girl, and so this is going to be on this side, either side of the actual oval, the center oval part. Now the theme that they're sticking with, it's kind of like a vintage feel, so I've got a doily here, and also got my flower trims. I haven't done any planning for this card, I'm kind of just winging it. So what I'm going to do, since you've seen my dilemma, is I'm still going to emboss, but I've just cut a 1.5 inch strip of the same Naturals Ivory cardstock, and I'm going to line that up with my embossing folder and feed this through and add another layer to that. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to feed this beautiful folder because I really do want to use this embossing textured folder. I really love this border design. So what I am going to do is I'm actually going to layer it on top. So even though it's two, I might foam adhesive so it actually pops up some more. So in the end, I'm still getting my desired outcome. It's just to help problem solve. Unfortunately, with this particular border, I know some other demos have cut the end of their border of their embossing folder, and it's just not something I'm prepared to do. So each to their own, but to solve that particular problem, I have just cut the same cardstock and in 1.5 inch. So another tip, I want to add the doily around, sorry, excuse my arm, around the side area here. So what I'm going to do is the same oval that I used for this here, I'm going to cut out and use my post-it note again, which I know I'm really good at getting rid of my rubbish and never seeming to find it. I found my post-it note and I'm going to line that up where I want to have the doily. So I'm just going to, I want it to be, I'm going to double check though because I really want it to be perfect. So I'm going to grab my other cutting mat and I'm going to line that up. Alright, so this is what's come out from that, and I'm going to follow the oval and use Tombow Mono adhesive and then give it a trim here. Okay, so I've just put some Tombow Mono adhesive behind the doily, and then now I'm just flipping it over and I'm just going to trim where the doily finishes. So just making sure, because it's a little bit wet, just got to be a little bit more careful. Okay, so far that's what the card's looking like, and then that's going to go in the middle to reinforce, and then it's pretty much just for some bling in the greeting. Alright, so I've just used my ovals Big's die, and with the second oval I've cut that out with Very Vanilla, then put it through the Designer Frames embossing folder and to get here. Now I am using an old stamp set because I find the sentiment a little something for a little someone is actually quite cute. So it's nothing really religious or too babyish, because the baby, it's pretty much, you know, that in between. You can really play along with this kind of sentiment. So the stamp and the ink colour that I'm going to use is going to be soft. Okay. Now just putting that aside, I'm going to adhere this down, the Pretty in Pink, with my snail. I'm going to get as much as the corners as I can, and this will help reinforce this centerpiece. Now I am going to adhere that directly down onto the Pretty in Pink. I'm going to try and put it to the center as much as possible. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my flower trim, and I'm only going to grab 3. And the glue, my chosen glue is going to be Crystal Effects. I know it's not something I would traditionally use, however I would like to place that along there and behind each flower. So I'm just going to make sure this is actually not dried on the ends, which I think it has blocked. So I'll just grab, and that's all I do, is I actually just put a pin in between, just shove it in the middle of here. Right, the heavy noise behind me you might hear is my husband trying to fix my sliding door, which has become quite creaky and unmovable. So sorry about the noise behind me. Alright, so I'm going to leave that flower trim like that. Probably give it a little trim here. And off to one side. So you've got a bit of time to move it with the Crystal Effects, but because I have used like a liquid type of glue, you do need to make sure that you give it time to rest and to... Alright, so now I'm going to grab my owl punch because I want to use this particular heart because I think it's absolutely a gorgeous little heart. Now grabbing my Crystal Effects again, I'm just going to put some Crystal Effects behind it to help adhere it down. Just the tiniest little bit because you don't need too much and you don't need to squeeze too much. And I'm just going to put the heart gently down. Then I'm also going to put Crystal Effects on the heart, and it's going to need to have a lot of time to let that dry. And that one there, so it's going to look like a little bubble and it's going to be cute. So I'm just going to leave that there. So I'm going to let that rest before I work on the side behind, the behind side. Okay, so what I did to finish up the card is I just did the same thing as I did at the front. I used the oval Big's die. I've cut it out and I've stamped the image with my special day. This one is great for christenings and communions, but what I wanted to use is the actual hand holding the image of the baby. I think it's a little bit symbolic, even though it's not a religious ceremony that's happening. And then also the little sweet baby there, just to remind us, how important this special occasion is. Now all I've done here is I've used the butterfly sizzlet and ran the vellum through the Big Shot. And what I've done is, I'll just zoom that in so you can see, is put little pearls in between each one and stuck it down. So it's just a simple little card. It's as neutral as possible, but still make it a little bit girly. What I might do is I'm going to try and hunt down some big pearls and put them down in between the flowers and see how that goes. And see, the heart I'll take is a little bit glossy and shimmery, and it's got like a little 3D effect to it. So there you go, that's Thank Card It's Friday. Hope you enjoyed it, something different, and showing you how this kind of card is made, and you can really pretty much make it any way you want. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to visit my Facebook page, Show Me the Love Jo Herbert, or even my blog for the project recipe. Have a great weekend, see you later.